Good morning, interwebs. It is like 7:45-ish. I'm up. I'm dressed. I'm the only one awake. So everybody else is sleeping. My cat is chilling on the counter. Say hi, Jezebel. I don't know what her deal is. She's been a little silly this morning. So I am making breakfast. Steve is just on his way home from work. At some point his mother will wake up and our kids will wake up and then our day will just start rolling. So for breakfast this morning I am currently washing up some potatoes in the sink from the garden. We are going to fry those, and I don't think I talked about this, but I did a little. But the other day Steve rendered, we had fat from our pig last year in the freezer, and so he rendered lard. So I'm going to cook some potatoes up in some lard and some herbs probably from out there in the garden. Well, that's not the garden, but that's where the herbs are, out in that tire. And some green onions from that little part over there. And then I'm going to cut up some summer squash and tomatoes and put them in some eggs. And that's what we're going to have for breakfast. And then I'm going to make some hot tea. I've got water going already to make some hot tea from our raspberry leaf tea. And I'll probably add some other stuff, because if I make it taste less like tea, Steve will drink it. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. I got a bunch done on my sweater last night, which was kind of exciting. And it took a while for the kids to fall asleep. You know, excitement of travels and such. So, but everybody slept really good. And now we're on to today. So trying to get back on a routine, schedule, plan, whatever. Which is kind of interesting because it's not like that's going to last very long. But I'm trying to get us ready because we start school in 6 days. And I need to get us on a plan because then we're going to California in about 2 weeks to visit my parents. I need to have school sorted by then because we're taking school with us on the road. Yep, that's my plan. We'll see how well I stick to it. My mother-in-law is gone. She left at like 2-ish, and that was good that she left. Not in a bad way, but just clearly having extra people in my house in any form causes me incredible anxiety. Luckily, I spent most of my time playing with yarn, which does seem to have a calming effect. If nothing else, it just gives me something to focus on, so I'm not getting all like worked up. Between cooking and crocheting, I kept myself busy while she was here. And I had some new yarn because my daughter thought of me, and when she got everybody souvenirs in California, my souvenir was yarn. So that was good, and I'm partially through a garment, so that should be getting finished here pretty quick. So now it is on to dinner time, and we'll see. I'm thinking that I'm going to make some enchilada casserole because I have some leftover pork chops that Steve grilled on his days off, and I have a bunch of masa flour. I'm starting to run low on wheat flour, and just trying to use up things that I have. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna get that pork out. I have I used the rest of this squash I cut for breakfast. I cut the end off and I put it in eggs. So I think I'm gonna dice this up and cook it with some tomatoes, and I have some corn in the freezer that we got from a friend last year that, I mean, it's good enough corn, but it's not super sweet and doesn't taste good necessarily on its own. So I'm thinking that I'm going to cut that off the cob, saute the corn and tomatoes and this together, put that on top of the masa mixture, and then sprinkle it with the diced up pork chops, and then maybe throw some cheese on top and stick that in the oven. And it should be just about the right amount of time because I've been trying to aim to serve dinner at 6:30, which means I need to start making dinner by 6. It's 10 to 6, so we'll see if we can get that done, and I might even throw in some like Spanish-y style rice to go with it. Does that sound good? Sounds doable, and I'm hoping that it doesn't sound too spicy because the 4-year-old was coming in and telling me today about how he doesn't want to have dinner tonight because he heard we're having enchilada casserole, and that's just entirely too spicy. And he wants to eat pancakes, again, because my children would live on oatmeal and pancakes if I would let them. But I won't. And I told him no to the pancakes. So he said, oh, well, I have a better... We could have waffles. I said that's basically pancakes in a different shape. So, I will go and start working on this. Squash. This is Magda squash from our garden. Has a similar texture to like a zucchini, but I think it has more flavor. It's actually a Middle Eastern squash. And you'll see these have, they're pretty dense. There's some seeds, but the seeds are soft enough you can just eat them and it's not a big deal. I'm gonna dice this kind of small-ish. Okie dokie. So this is what it looks like before. And we're going to turn this on to 375. I'm going to open my oven. Slide that in. Cook it for probably, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. So I'm going to make some like Spanish-y style rice stuff as a side dish to go along with our enchilada casserole. So this is some leftover, my focus is doing funny things, leftover tomato vegetable soup. It is made with squash and tomatoes. I have more of it than I really need in the fridge as far as eating as leftovers because I made it for us, and then I made some for my mother-in-law while she was here because I thought she'd like it. Then I just put a little bitty pinch of this, which is some dehydrated, like chili peppers. And then I'm going to put in a little bigger pinch of this is some dried cilantro that we grew and then we ran through our magic bullet. And you can see that starting to heat up. And I had a couple of cobs of corn. These were not frozen. These were from our garden that we had the other night with those pork chops that I cut up. I'm just going to go ahead and add this corn to the pan. And then I'm going to stir it all up, and then I'm going to add the leftover rice from this pot.